But she was also asked a question about the young players coming in, and I thought she gave a really good answer.
Remember when you were told you weren't ready for the big leagues? Caitlin Clark's been there, but she's not just proving doubters wrong, she's changing the whole conversation. If you've ever felt underestimated, you'll want to hear this story. It's about more than just basketball. It's about standing up and showing out. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Think you know all there is to know about the impact Caitlin Clark has had on women's basketball? Please reconsider. The journey of this rookie took an unexpected turn, which nobody saw coming. What statement made by a well-known media figure has now backfired?
Girls that came in, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, rookie class, really hyping up the league coming from college to the WNBA.
I think it's so positive. I really do. I think it's a fun time to be a part of the W.
In light of the recent controversy surrounding her comments regarding Caitlin Clark, let's discuss the renowned sportscaster Molly Karam. When asked about Clark's readiness for the Olympic team, Karam was very honest. She went on to say that picking Clark based on her marketing abilities rather than her actual talent would be a mock the women's game.
Caitlin Clark haters, just a lot of other stuff. But when we're actually talking about the sport, and I think that's one of the big things that has happened.
On top of that, Clark's recent performances have won over her naysayers, turning them into true fans. On the court, the rookie sensation has been nothing short of spectacular, stunning everyone and shattering records. The real-life sports movie vibe is revived as Clark emerges as the underdog hero who proves everyone wrong. And we're not just talking about die-hard fans who have hopped on the bandwagon. Not only that, but even the other teams are taking notice. Sophie Cunningham, a seasoned WNBA player, was quite complimentary of the rookie class, singling out Clark for special praise. She went on to claim that the league has been better off because of the energy and new energy brought by the younger players. You could be asking why it's crucial to single out a single player. The story is about more than just Clark, you know. Like a domino effect, her success is reshaping the whole WNBA. Even those who previously didn't care much about women's basketball are tuning in to see what all the fuss is about. Come on, this isn't just Clark's victory. I want everybody who has ever felt unworthy, unmarketable, or unready for the big leagues to join me in celebrating this triumph. On the biggest stage conceivable, Clark is proving that genius overcomes doubt. Just a moment, there's a twist in the story. Clark rose to prominence for numerous reasons, one of which is to silence his critics. The secret is to change the game's rules internally. Her personality, court presence, and style of play have propelled her to WNBA superstar status like never before. Plus, what's really interesting is that the very qualities that made her a target of skepticism, her youth, distinctive style, and media charisma, are now driving her success. It's as if Clark transformed those dubious comments into a driving force that fueled her love for basketball.
I do think that the growth of Caitlin Clark especially is purely because of basketball.
What does this mean for the future of women's basketball then? Am I seeing the dawn of a new era where rookies can have an instant impact on their team and the league as a whole? Does this change the relative strength of the league's officials, the press, and the players? Just when you thought the Clark situation was going to explode, a big name in the media jumps in. Why is this former WNBA star putting her reputation on the line by criticizing how the league is treating its newest star? A highly regarded sportscaster named Cindy Brunson intervenes. When she wants to express anything, she doesn't hold back. The unusual demand for an apology from the WNBA by Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever has generated a lot of controversy. Why is Brunson being so courageous? Being appreciated and valued is what matters most in the end. By focusing on Clark, Brunson sheds light on the treatment of female athletes more generally. These women are tremendously talented athletes, she says. All of our respect, focus, and support are due to... Here's where things start to get interesting, though. Brunson isn't singling out any particular team or individual in his demand. It all boils down to making changes to the game as a whole. She's trying to shift people's minds about women's sports by challenging old myths and preconceptions. Think about it. The introduction of a dominating player like Clark changes more than just the outcome of the game. Views are influenced. The effect is to make people sit up and take notice, and Brunson is making a killing off of it. Watch Clark closely, she instructs. Her work is radically altering our expectations. The moment has come to demand real change. It seems like Brunson is trying to get Clark to change his behavior off the court by bringing up how well he plays on the court. Not only that, but Clark isn't the sole player. A greater conversation about the WNBA's numerous underappreciated yet exceptional women is beginning with Brunson's position. According to her, if we can get it right for Clark, we can get it right for everyone. When would you recommend it? I don't see why Brunson has chosen this moment to speak up, because Clark's rise has set in motion a perfect storm. All three of your metrics, media attention, fan interest, and talent, are going up. We must act now to ensure that the league accords its players the respect they deserve. We must be honest, there is a certain amount of risk involved with making such a public confession. Brunson's reputation in the neighborhood is under jeopardy. She is challenging the status quo, however unsettling that may be. Nonetheless, her conviction in its value is plain to see. She's gambling that women's basketball will achieve new heights of glory if she speaks out. In light of this, what does the future hold for the WNBA? The game of dominoes comes to mind. The demand put out by Brunson has the potential to bring about some significant changes if it gains traction. New contract arrangements, increased media coverage of women's sports, better league promotion, and more respect for players are all possible changes. One aspect is the league's potential actions or inactions. Important factors to think about here are the possible moves made by the advocates. A rallying cry is conveyed by Brunson's position. She wants her listeners would realize that you are an articulate individual. We can accomplish more with your assistance. Fans' support like that could be the game changer in this age of social media. At the end of Brunson's courageous stand, another voice becomes involved in the battle. If you think you know anything about women's basketball, prepare to have your assumptions about the WNBA shattered by this critic. Carly Brew has recently gone viral with a shocking discovery. Stephen A. Smith's claims that the WNBA needed rescuing were not believed by her. Contrarily, what she has been doing is drawing attention to something that we have been able to see clearly for the whole time. The W didn't need saving, it just needed promotion, Brew said. The product has never been the problem, it has always been the promotion. This is not without merit, the numbers back it up. A lot has changed with the WNBA's media rights. Please clarify this for me. The value of these assets has skyrocketed from $60 million to a staggering $2 billion. It's not just growth, it's an eruption. Do you really want to know who the main character is? Sure, I get it, Caitlin Clark. Pause for a moment. The involvement of a single participant is insufficient to warrant concern. Thanks to Clark's rise, a long-simmering problem is finally receiving the attention it deserves. It is believed by some that the WNBA was in such a precarious situation that only a miracle could save it. Another viewpoint is that the league was never feeble. All it needed was a braggart like Brew. Does it end with this? Is Clark the only reason women's basketball is getting some attention, or does the sport require her to save it? In all likelihood, it's a mix of the two. Clark's impact goes much beyond her on-court achievements, but no one can dispute her talent. Think about it. Clark isn't just collecting points, he's changing the conversation. Thanks to her, people who didn't give a hoot about women's basketball are now taking notice. That focal point too. The league is making money and it's showing up in their stats. Here's where things start to get interesting though. Clark's accomplishments are showing that women's basketball has much more potential than previously thought. The media's insufficient coverage of the topic has been brought to light by this. For a long time, outstanding players have achieved unbelievable things on the court. Naturally, there was talent. It would have been more appealing with a spotlight. Because of Clark, the game is now getting the attention it deserves, and people are starting to see what all the fuss is about. Somebody must have decided the lights needed to be turned on after being off for what seems like an eternity. The outcome is a game that is as exciting as the men's and played at a breakneck pace. Having said that, come on. This place is about more than just basketball. It all comes down to how much value women's sports really have. The events in Clark's biography are raising some challenging concerns. Why was the WNBA made to wait for one player's meteoric rise before everyone paid attention? Why wasn't the league getting the credit it deserved before? These questions, albeit disturbing, are really important. Because of them, we have no choice but to think about the sports media industry in its broader perspective. The stakes are higher than just choosing a winning team or individual. The story's direction and sponsorship are at the center of this power struggle. The triumph of Clark demolishes prejudice and preconceptions. When women's sports finally get the attention they deserve, she's showing that viewers will tune in, tickets will be pre-purchased by them, they will observe it, putting money into it will be their top priority. That media rights deal worth $2 billion. It's not just the WNBA that benefits from it. This needs to be heard by the entire sports world. This demonstrates that with the right promotion, women's sports may attract spectators. The money is plainly visible. Emotions are conjured up. Where do we go from here? In reality, that is the question worth $1 million, or $1 billion even. The story of Clark is just the beginning. It has paved the way. Now the league, the media, and the fans must keep the ball rolling. As she makes her way through the WNBA, Caitlin Clark is rewriting the rules, not just changing the game. A fresh viewpoint on women's basketball has emerged as a result of this rookie's outstanding performance. The minds and hearts of her opponents are being won by her as much as by her victories in games. The most unfortunate aspect, however, is that Clark's success is unveiling something far more important. Ladies' athletic competitions have never been dull. All they needed was some attention. Ever since Clark turned it on, everyone has been able to see clearly. A number of people are involved in this. All the athletes that have been overlooked are at the center of the story. It's about fighting back against inequality and bigotry. As the success of Clark's performance shows, all it takes is one chance for brilliance to shine. Where do we go from here? We've made up our minds. Will this improvement be sustainable? However, are we going to let it go? We must now assume the initiative.